And now, therefore, I will move slowly to the next item. We are now ready to examine the third sub-item 8C. We have just completed 8B. Examination of proposals to the register of good safeguarding practices. So we are going to the safeguarding practices now. We will examine 5 proposals. These will be examined according to the order of files published on the Secretariat's website as follows: Philippines, Kyrgyzstan, Iran, Kenya, and a joint nomination by Denmark and Germany. That's the order. So let me recall that we are to evaluate to which extent the proposals best reflect the principles and objectives of the Convention. In other words, it is not necessary to meet each and every criterion in order for the proposal to be selected. The purpose of this register is to select effective safeguarding practices to be selected, disseminated, and potentially replicated elsewhere. Before starting the examination of the proposals, I think that it is important to keep in mind the criteria that must guide our decisions today. Can you see them on the screen? Yes. Now you can see it on the screen. Yes. Let me now give the floor to the evaluation body so that they can share with us the findings of the body on the first proposal, School of Living Traditions, Draft Decision 16.com 8.c.5 by the Philippines. Over to you, Chairperson of the evaluation body, Luba Wolska.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. The School of Living Traditions program involved community-managed learning centers where practitioners can transmit their community's knowledge, intangible cultural heritage, skills and values to younger generations. The School of Living Traditions program coordinates efforts to safeguard intangible cultural heritage at the national, sub-regional, regional and international levels and is fully in line with the spirit of Convention. The evaluation body considered the nomination an example of a well-prepared file which reflects the spirit of the Convention and places great emphasis on the central role of communities, groups and individuals, and in particular indigenous communities in safeguarding their intangible cultural heritage. For this reason, the evaluation body recommends to select the School of Living Traditions as a program, project or activity best reflecting the principles and objectives of the Convention. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I see the Bureau did not receive any kind of debate or amendments for this file as well. So may I therefore ask the committee to adopt draft decision on this file as shown on the screens as a whole, that is draft decision 16.com 8.c.5 from Philippines School of Living Traditions. I see no objections, therefore happily I adopted. Congratulations, Philippines. Yes, I think now the ambassador from Philippines, Mahilium, West, is over to you. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. Good morning to everyone. The Philippines lauds the inscription of the School of Living Traditions, or SLT, in the representative list of good safeguarding practices and thanks the committee, secretariat, and evaluation body for their hard work. The SLT ensures that indigenous knowledge, practices, and living traditions continue to be safeguarded and revitalized by encouraging apprenticeship of the younger generation. I now invite Executive Director Marichu Teliano of the National Commission on Culture and the Arts to give her remarks.
Warm greetings from the National Commission for Culture and the Arts from the Philippines. Together with the government of the Philippines and our diverse cultural communities, we express our heartfelt gratitude for the decision to include our flagship program, the School for Living Tradition, or the SLT, in the UNESCO Register of Good Safeguarding Practices, which is first time for our country. It is with great pride that we welcome this development. The SLT exemplifies the effective and lasting cooperation among the national government, the local government, private organizations, and the communities that benefits from the communities themselves. As much as the younger generations learn through SLT, we also learn and continue to learn by implementing this non-formal school for traditional cultures. Among them are the power of sharing, communal solidarity, and a keener appreciation and respect of cultural diversity. May the world also find some learnings from our School of Living Traditions as we mark another milestone in the continuing efforts to keep the stories of humanity alive. Thank you again to UNESCO. And as we say here in the Philippines, mabuhay tayong lahat. And let's watch this short video that we have prepared for you.
The School of Living Traditions, or SLT, is a flagship project of the National Commission for Culture and the Arts of the Philippines, dedicated to the safeguarding and support of the continued practice and transmission of indigenous and folk traditions, skills, and knowledge, cultural heritage elements that are manifestations and expressions of the creativity and ingenuity of cultural communities. It harnesses the community's own cultural masters to teach and guide young members of the community using their own approaches. We are deeply honored by global recognition that the SLT is receiving. From the National Commission for Culture and the Arts, from the Government of the Philippines, most especially from the indigenous peoples and cultural communities of the Philippines, thank you, UNESCO.
Thank you, UNESCO!
Yes, thank you very much, Philippines. And now I move on to 8.c.4, submitting state, Kyrgyzstan. Nomination, Nomad Games. Rediscovering heritage, celebrating diversity. So again, I would like to give the floor to the representative of the evaluation body to explain about this. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The nomination file describes a number of initiatives and projects aimed at restoring some traditions that had been eliminated before independence in 1991. Revitalization efforts began formally in 2007 and developed into its current format, while gaining traction and wide participation nationally and internationally. The evaluation body appreciated the demonstration of a strong community engagement and support for the program and the proactive participation of the federations and practitioners in the safeguarding of their collective intangible cultural heritage at such a large scale. For this reason, the evaluation body recommends to select Nomad Games Rediscovering Heritage Celebrating Diversity as a program, project or activity best reflecting the principles and objectives of the Convention. Thank you.
Yes, the Bureau did not receive any request for debate or amendments for this file. And therefore, I would like to ask the committee to adopt draft decision on this file as shown on the screens as a whole. That is draft decision 16.com 8.c.4. Yes, I see no objection. Therefore, I would like to adopt it adopted, and congratulations to Kyrgyzstan. Yes, and I would like to invite the Honorable Minister of Culture from Kyrgyzstan. Over to you.
Dear Chairperson, committee members, Secretariat, and the Member States, on behalf of Kyrgyz Republic and all those who are involved in the World Nomad Games, I would like to extend my sincerely gratitude for the recognition of Nomad Games to register of good practices for safeguarding and the intangible cultural heritage. One of the key elements of nomadic culture are the nomadic games that epitomize nomadic worldviews, values, and identity. These games have been developed in conjunction with local communities, and they continue to serve as an effective instrument of cultural transmission. The games not only represent intangible cultural heritage, but also showcase the diversity of cultural practices, ceremonies, and the crafts, as well as cultural, biological, geological diversity. Therefore, a wide range of stakeholders in Kyrgyzstan, such as local communities, traditional craft persons communities, practitioners, and the government has joined their forces to promote World Nomad Games as a tool to safeguard intangible cultural heritage and at the local, national, and the global levels. Nomad Games Rediscovering Heritage, Celebrating Diversity is a program that started as a local endeavor and has gradually developed in the international initiative with the help of local communities, cultural practitioners, and the countries around the world. I would like to thank and congratulate everybody who are involved in the World Nomad Games and encourage to continue the facilitating work on safeguarding the intangible cultural heritage in their homelands. Your Excellencies, please allow me to reiterate my gratitude to the Committee of recognizing the value of World Nomad Games in safeguarding the intangible cultural heritage. Rahmat UNESCO. Rahmat UNESCO.
Thank you very much, all the people from Kyrgyzstan with Honorable Minister. Thank you very much. And now I move on to the next 8.C.2 from Submitting States, Islamic Republic of Iran, and the nomination, National Program to Safeguard the Traditional Art of Calligraphy in Iran. So, as usually, I would like to give the floor to the representative of the evaluation body. Over to you, Luba Volanska.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next file is the National Program to Safeguard the Traditional Art of Calligraphy in Iran, submitted by the Islamic Republic of Iran. The program for safeguarding the traditional art of calligraphy in Iran is a long-term program coordinated by 2 non-governmental organizations and 4 governmental actors to revitalize, enhance, and promote the practice of calligraphy in Iran. After initiating a dialogue process on criterion P5, the evaluation body considered the program has been implemented collaboratively between the state bodies and non-governmental organizations, including many master practitioners who are involved in training, formal and informal education approaches, exhibitions and publications. The evaluation body considered that the nomination is well prepared and for this reason recommends to select the national program to safeguard the traditional art of calligraphy in Iran as a program, project or activity best reflecting the principles and objectives of the convention. Thank you.
Thank you, Luba. Now, the Bureau did not receive any request for debate or amendment for this file, and therefore, as usual, may I therefore ask the committee to adopt draft decision on this file as shown on the screen as a whole, and that is draft decision 16.com 8.c.2 from the Islamic Republic of Iran. I see no objection, so I would like to adopt very happily. Adopted, and congratulations, Iran. There will be a video.
خوشنویسی در ایران به عنوان یک هنر مقدس شناخته میشه. هنری که خوشنویسان با آن کتابت قرآن کریم رو انجام میدادند. در طول دوره‌های مختلف هنرمندان بسیاری برای زیبا نوشتن خط فعالیت بسیاری رو کردند. ابن مقله شیرازی یکی از مهمترین کسانی است که در حوزه خوشنویسی در ایران در قرن چهارم خطوط سته رو به وجود آورد و اصول حاکم بر خوشنویسی رو وضع نمود. هنر خوشنویسی توسط خوشنویسان و هنرمندان ایرانی تحولات بسیاری رو پذیرفت. یکی از مهمترین اتفاقات در تاریخ خوشنویسی ایران خط نستعلیق هست که توسط میرعلی تبریزی به شکل نهایی اون تدوین میشه که امروز به عنوان عروس خطوط ایرانی شناخته میشه. ورود چاپ سربی و ماشین تحریر باعث شد دانش آموزان کمتر به خوشنویسی اهمیت بدن و دیگه توان خواندن خطوطی مانند نستعلیق و شکست نستعلیق رو نداشته باشن و کم حوصلگی باعث شد که توجه به خوشنویسی کمتر بشه. اما مجموعه اقدامات انجام شده در طول برنامه ملی پاسداری از هنر خوشنویسی موجب شد تا استفاده از این هنر در بین هنرمندان گسترش بسیاری پیدا کند و تحول عمده‌ای در استفاده از خط و خوشنویسی مانند نقاشی خطها و یا استفاده کردن از خط در بناها و معماری به شکل جدید، فضای بیرونی و همینطور در معماری داخلی، زیورآلات سنتی، لباسها و طراحی لباس در ظروف فلزی، در ظروف سرامیکی و همینطور آثار و اشیایی که در خانه کاربرد فراوانی دارند، از این هنر استفاده بسیار شده.
Thank you very much. And now let me move on to the next 8.c.3. Subheading state, Kenya. Nomination, success story of promoting traditional foods and safeguarding traditional foodways in Kenya. So, I would like to give the floor to the representative of the evaluation body. Over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The program is comprised of two safeguarding initiatives involving the promotion of traditional foods and safeguarding foodways in Kenya. Here, traditional foodways were under threat due to historical factors and the pressure of modern lifestyles. Understanding that a decline in food diversity and knowledge would have serious ramifications on health and on food, on nutrition insecurity, in 2007, Kenya committed to safeguarding related practices and expressions promoting two programs, one promoted by UNESCO. The evaluation body considered that the nomination represents a well-prepared file that can serve as a concrete, attainable example of a safeguarding model around traditional food and foodways that can be applied and adapted to other settings facing similar challenges around a decline in traditional foods. For this reason, the evaluation body recommends to select the success story of promoting traditional foods and safeguarding traditional foodways in Kenya as a program, project, or activity best reflecting the principles and objectives of the Convention. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the Bureau did not receive any request for debate or amendments for this file. And therefore, I would like to ask the committee to adopt draft decision on this file. You can see on the screen as a whole. That is decision 16.com 8.c.3 from Kenya. Yes, I see no objection, so I would like to adopt it, adopted, and I invite the Director of Culture from Kenya over to you.
Mr. President.
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you very.
Mr. President, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chair, we congratulate you on your election as chair of the 16th Intergovernmental Committee meeting on Intangible Cultural Heritage. As a state party, we are pleased, honored, and humbled as we accept the inscription of the success story of promoting traditional foods and safeguarding traditional foodways in Kenya. Indeed, it gives us great pleasure that this is the first element from Kenya to be inscribed on the register of good safeguarding practices. It is our hope that this inscription will inspire our community's efforts to augment food security within our borders regionally and internationally. It is also our hope that this success story will help communities elsewhere learn from this experience. We will continue working hard with your support to put in place measures that will ensure viability of these practices. We wish to sincerely convey our very special thanks to the evaluation body and the High CH Secretariat for the support, advice, and guidance to enable the element meet the requisite threshold for this inscription. Allow me this. Thank you, Mr. President.
The one
Mr.
thing
President,
that I know
I'm through with my statement.
for sure that people have now come to appreciate the African. And that's why I've come up with a little booklet, the recipe book, drawing from the indigenous knowledge.
Nilianza kujihusisha na vyakula vya kienyeji wakati wa 1970, nutritious, na watoto wakikula wenyewe wanakuwa na mwili wenye hauna madhara. Sasa nimepanda miogo, ngwazi hiyo ya Kikamba. Tuseme kwa mfano umeandikiwa uende hospitali, alafu umeambiwa we nataka ukule sorghum. Sasa wanarudi pale pale walikuwa wanakataa. Wanawake wale waliolewa juzi hawana ujuzi wa hii vyakula vya kienyeji.
Ile ilipewa mimi kuanza kulima utamu wa wimbi. Kama wewe unaleta msichana ya mtu na mnakula naye sahani moja na bakuli moja, kumaliza mwaka mmoja sura yenu inakuwa umoja. Na pombe yako ukikunywa kama namaliza siku 12 huwezi kusikia kama nachoka. Hii pombe sisi ni tunatumianga kimela. Siku ya kutia mtoto jina. Kama ni kijana mara hii. Kama ni msichana mara hii.
One is the whole question of meals in government or other large institutions like prisons, hospitals, and schools. So in terms of policy, we'd like to see a situation where these institutions start purchasing vegetables locally.
Thank you very much, Kenya. Now I move on to 8.C1. Sub-state, Denmark and Germany both. Nomination, Danish-German minority model, a framework for living together in peace in a culturally diverse region. So I would like to give the floor to the representative of the evaluation body to explain about this. Over to you, Luba.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson. The file describes the long-term implementation of two political declarations in Denmark and Germany. They are dating back to 1955 and recognize the freedoms and rights of Danish and German minorities to self-identity. Thanks to this legal framework, in both countries the minority culture, traditions and way of life were guaranteed. The evaluation body considers that while greatly appreciating the description of the policies adopted by both countries to protect cultural minorities present in both territories, the file seems to refer to a cultural policy for the general integration of minorities without a specific relation to intangible cultural heritage as defined by the Article 2 of the Convention. Thus, for the body, according to the information provided by the states parties, it was not clear how the program has contributed to the viability of intangible cultural heritage. In conclusion, for this reason, the evaluation body recommends to refer the Danish-German minority model, a framework for living heritage in peace in a culturally diverse region, to the submitting state parties. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the Bureau did not receive any request for debate or amendments for this file. Therefore, I would like to ask the committee to adopt draft decision on this file. You can see on the screen as a whole. So therefore, draft decision 16.com, 8.c.1. I see no objection. Therefore, I adopted. And thank you very much, Denmark and Germany both. And I would like to invite the representative from Denmark.
Thank you, Mr. Chairperson, for giving the floor to Denmark as an observer to the committee. Denmark and Germany would like to thank the evaluation body for their comments. We support a process in which the expert evaluation is fundamental to the decisions of the committee. We note that the evaluation body, and now the committee, commends our states for having adopted policies for the integration of the minority communities even after referring a nomination. We also acknowledge that while we do find that the Danish-German minority model not only involves safeguarding, but also reflects the principles and objectives of the convention as some of the core criteria of the register states, the interpretation of what constitutes ICH is not clear-cut, but must be part of an ongoing discussion. We want to highlight three aspects of the Danish-German minority model. Firstly, it provides a toolbox which others can adopt. It is meant to safeguard a multiplicity of respective ICH elements related to the domains of social practices, festive occasions, oral expressions, music, or performing arts. We'll identify them concretely throughout the whole nomination file. Secondly, the model consists of several concrete activities to safeguard this ICH, including cultural policy programs and a number of legal and political mechanisms which speak to the ongoing evolution of the convention's implementation, reflected among others in the periodic reporting mechanism. Finally, our model secures the viability of forms of ICH and their active transmission to the next generation. For example, through the development of educational teaching materials, the implementation of school projects, and activities in kindergartens or cultural events, often on a voluntary basis. In other words, the Danish-German minority model makes up a framework to safeguard many different forms of ICH, the sum of which form the community's living heritage and therefore are safeguarded as a whole. Minorities are particularly concerned by the need of safeguarding their ICH. The viability of minorities' ICH should therefore be consistently promoted through tools of the 2003 Convention. Even though the model will not be inscribed on the register right now, we invite anyone who's further interested in the functioning of the minority model to contact the communities and both state parties concerned, who will be more than happy to share their views and insights on safeguarding ICH of minorities. We further propose that the continued reflection process on Article 18 of the Convention, and especially on the Register of Good Safeguarding Practices, should not limit itself on inscribed proposals, but also consider the manifold existing examples beyond. Most of the safeguarding practices inscribed in the register are national proposals. In fact, there are only 2 inscribed practices of multinational character. Through the minority model, we would like to promote an understanding of the register also as a framework and inspiration for international cooperation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Denmark and Germany, she gave us that explanation. Thank you very much again. And now we have just completed 8C. So after 8C, we move on to 8D. So, dear committee members, we have now completed our examination of nominations to the urgent safeguarding list and the representative list, as well as the examination of proposals to the register of good safeguarding practices